It was a good game. Spurs came out slow. I had said before in my last video on this game that I was worried that the Spurs would come out a little sluggish after the break. I've not necessarily just because they're tired. They got a 2-day break. I'm sure they're a little tired from travel, but it's the NBA. I'm sure that's always happening. Everyone's tired. But I was thinking that maybe being home, they put their guard down a little bit. They rest easy because they finally made it through the trip. And it seemed like that might have been the case, or something bugged them early because they were not clicking on all cylinders early, especially defensively. A bunch of just lack of communication moments, people not switching, people not recognizing. A lot of switching issues I noticed, and a lot of talking issues. I saw DeJounte do the talk, guys, talk, and just people not getting through screens, people not switching on screens, leading to wide open shots, people getting to the rack easily without much resistance. It seemed early in the game a lot of that stuff happened. Second half, Keldon got benched. Like 2 minutes into the second half, he puts his shoulder down, charges ridiculously hard into Trey Lyles, who sells it well, but I mean, that's a scouting report on Keldon. You know, if he's putting his head down, he has a little bit of tunnel vision, and he goes hard. So Trey Lyles knows the Spurs. He knows Keldon. Took it and sold it, and Keldon did a charge. Pops at him. He must have said something because Keldon knew he was done. He sat on the bench, sat on the end of the bench, like didn't touch his warm-ups, didn't put his mask on, and just like sat there at the end of the bench, kind of just sitting there. You could tell he looked dejected, but that's one of them Popovich learning moments, I would say. You know, we've seen some tough love from Pop over the years, and I don't think we've seen too much directed towards Keldon just because of how hard he plays and the effort he plays with, but something triggered him. I don't know if there was something else going on that I don't know about, like an injury or something. Something was said. I don't know. But maybe it'll come out by the time you see this video. But Keldon got benched. He didn't play the rest of the game. And Doug got benched for a while, but he came back. But that was after a little run by the Kings to start the second half. Josh Richardson and someone else, maybe it was Lonnie, but Josh Richardson checks in for Doug. And I felt a little spark defensively when Josh came in. He's a good two-way player, and I think he fills the Doug role pretty well. I mean, that slot in the starting five, I'd be interested to see that, but I don't think they'll do that. Doug's purpose is to let the offense breathe. They don't have a sniper on offense, so they need someone running around. But I was intrigued by what I saw in that little stretch when Josh Richardson went in, when those guys came out. Something I didn't mention in the first half, even though the Spurs were getting beat bad in the first half, the reason they stayed afloat was Lonnie Walker having a borderline career game. Even if it's a win, it's a career game for Lonnie. Really, really steady, good play from Lonnie recently. I think that's 4 games in a row he hit 20 plus. Love to see it from Lonnie. I mean, I don't need to say it. We all know what's coming up. It's contract time for Lonnie. It's time for him to make his money. It's time for him to make a name for himself. If he closes the year like this, I think he makes it an easy decision for the Spurs. I'm not sold yet. I mean, I love Lonnie. I just don't think it's an easy decision yet. I think it's something the Spurs would still have to think about, consider the options when other teams make offers towards him, because they can match any offer. And at this point, I think there's still a thought. I think there's a bit of doubt still, just because we've seen how streaky Lonnie is. But if he closes the year at least somewhat consistent, at least doesn't dip to where he was earlier, and maybe he has some bad games, but he makes up for it with hustle, defensive plays, he does stuff. He doesn't just disappear. I think he has a good chance to make his money with the Spurs. But, you know, he has to convince the Spurs because he's showing the rest of the league what he can do, too. So, it's a little weird. The Spurs know him better than anybody, so they're going to know, do they need to match it? Do they not? So, at least it's a discussion, right? At least we're talking about it. At least it's not like, oh, cut his ass. At least we're able to talk about it now and consider it. Because earlier, a couple of weeks ago, actually, I think Atlanta game was the last bad Lonnie game we had. And then after that, well, Atlanta game was the first game after Derek got traded. And Devin went off that game. Lonnie sucked that game. And I think it was a wake-up call for Lonnie. That's what I'm calling it. Because he saw Primo getting more minutes. He saw Devin doing really well. And, you know, it's never been a talent thing with Lonnie. It's never been an ability thing. He is, as we've seen, he can do anything on the court, offensively especially. So, he's shown a lot. I hope he keeps showing it. It's one of the bright spots right now. Another bright spot was the way the Spurs came back in the second half. I think they were down up to 20. They were down by, if it wasn't 20, it was damn near 20. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I think they were down almost 20. And they came back. And it was led by the young guys. It was led by energy. It was led by, Lonnie scored, but Trey was involved. Trey played a lot of minutes this game. I'll get into that in a second. I want to say something about Trey and DJ. Devin, after starting the game really slow, I think he was part of the issue early on. He wasn't. I just saw some bonehead plays. I saw him not get back once or twice. I saw him get frustrated, not with his emotions, but with the way he responded to defensive possession after a bad offensive possession. I saw that once where he had a bad offensive play, and the defensive side of the ball, he just kind of gambled and then didn't get back on his man, and he gave up a shot. But the thing that I always say about Vassell, that I've been saying lately, that I've noticed from him, is how he doesn't get too high or low, how he doesn't really let a cold streak affect the rest of his game, because he can still block shots, he can still play D. And in this game, he did block a big shot in the fourth quarter, I think. I forget who it was on, but he had a big block shot when it was kind of back and forth. I like the way Devin stays even-keeled. He just watches facial expression. He doesn't get too low. Obviously doesn't get too high. He's not screaming out there like he's not doing Keldon stuff. He's calm, keeps the same facial expression. And I really like that because he has so much to offer other than offense. And if you let your offense get the rest of your game down, you lose so much utility. So I really liked myself in Devin's second half. Shots started to fall a little bit. He didn't have the best offensive game. Let me see. Let's open the box score here because I haven't even brought that up. Okay, so let's see what Devin did. 41%. He ended up going 4 for 9 from 3, and I'm pretty sure those were all in the second half. But, yeah, you can see Keldon only played 15 minutes. That was like first half and start of the second half. Doug was a problem this game. I like what Doug brings to the team, but I didn't like Doug this game too much. It looked like when he's not crisp on offense, what does he really offer you? It's not as bad as an undersized sniper, he's not a sniper. He has some offensive game. He has some driving capabilities, but he's fairly one-dimensional in terms of offense, defense. Not a great defender. Got beat a lot, and I think the minutes reflected that. He only played 19 minutes. It has to be below season average, which I don't have pulled up. But I know it's below season average. But love the way they closed the game. Going back to Vassell, started poorly. He picked it up. Doug never picked it up. Keldon didn't have a chance to pick it up. Lonnie was great throughout. But the thing that I really liked in the second half was the energy from Trey and Primo. And Kieta was out there, getting hands in lanes and just being long. He didn't have his best game. But Trey and Primo brought a lot of energy in that comeback effort. And the crazy thing is, they're both kind of point guards. DeJounte's obviously the point guard. And they all three shared the floor together. Kind of liked that. I kind of liked how they rode the hot hand. They rode who was playing the hardest. They rode who was making the most happen. And especially to see Trey and DeJounte share the court together. Really weird pairing. We just got rid of Derek, which was, I'm assuming, to get rid of the two on-ball dominant player starting in the rotation together, just to make the offense once again breathe, to make it be more cohesive, because you have two players whose main skill set's being on the ball. They went back to that just because Trey was bringing so much energy. Just solid player Trey, bringing energy, making good passes, good reads, great defense. And then, Primo. Bounce back game from Primo. He had a little bit of a slump, especially shooting. He didn't shoot a lot this game. He only took 3 shots. You can see that right there. I'm blocking half this screen. Only took 3 shots, but they were good shots. He wasn't taking dumb shots. And he was playing great defense, had a big dunk, hit a big 3, made good passes. Did he turn the ball over? Let's see. No turnovers. Wow, that's a good game from Primo. No turnovers. Plus 10 from Primo, plus 11 from Trey. Yeah, they sparked that run. Josh Richardson, too. He was part of the spark, too, plus 5. I want to see more from those guys. Keldon has been really good. He's been really good. This was his first bad game in a while. He has been picking his game up a lot recently. But he had a bad game. And I don't know where those minutes are going to come from for Primo and Trey. But play them all. It's weird because his first signed Dougie. Doug wanted to be here. You got to play him some. But if the minutes stayed kind of like that the whole season, I wouldn't be mad about it. Trey getting 20, Primo getting 20, Doug getting 20. But Keldon, he's going to get more than that. He's going to eat up some of those minutes. I would love him to eat Doug's minutes. Eat Doug's McNuggets. I couldn't resist. Okay. Also, Josh needs to play. I say Josh needs to play. I know he's new to the team and whatever, but I like what he brings defensively. I think if you give him a chance, he can bring a little bit on offense. Doug takes so much away from the defense, way more than what Josh will take away from the offense if he replaces Doug. Is that fair? I think it's fair. I get the Doug thing. He lets the offense breathe. You need someone to space the floor. You need a constant threat. They don't really have that. Devin's becoming that. Maybe a Devin Lonnie starting lineup would be fun because Lonnie's playing like a madman. So, anyway, the game didn't end up well. Spurs came back, tied it up at the end. They tied it several times. But it looked like Sacramento's trying to get back ahead. Talk about Sacramento a second. A couple guys really stood out. Obviously, their stars. Fox pretty good. Sabonis pretty good. We all know Harrison Barnes pretty good. The freaking little bastard that was really freaking annoyingly good was Dante DiVincenzo. He was just hustling, getting offensive rebounds. He really slowed Lonnie down when Lonnie got going. Just a little pest out there, and he changed the game for them. I mean, hats off to DiVincenzo. I really didn't know what his game was until today. I hadn't watched him too closely, being a Eastern team the Spurs only see a couple times a year, and not being a household name kind of player. I just didn't know his game. But I see what he does. You know, doesn't have to have the ball in his hand. He's just, loose balls, offensive boards, big defense, tips. And you know what? He hit a couple shots too. What did he end up doing with the Spurs? 3 for 9, not the best shooting, but hit 2 threes, 33%, serviceable. I mean, you have to respect it. 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Yeah, annoying-ass player. The one that was really pissing me off, though, and, he's a good player. I can't say anything. He went 5 for 5. Damian Jones. I follow basketball pretty closely. I'm not, I follow Spurs closer than anybody. I know a lot of players. I don't know how I didn't know about this guy. Does anybody know about this guy? Am I the only one? He was dominating. He was scoring on Yak. He was tipping balls. He was a presence. 7 rebounds, 2 assists. 20 minutes, 5 for 5 shooting. He was a problem. He was really good for them. It was really out of nowhere. I didn't even know he was going to in the rotation or anything. Oh, it's because Rashawn Holmes, Maurice Harkless are both out. Alex Len just doesn't play. Josh Jackson, he's on that team. Interesting. But yeah, in conclusion, remember when DeJounte hit like almost three threes in a row to tie the game? I thought he was going to do some Dame Dalla type shit at the end. He hit that 1-3 like with 10 seconds left. He just dribbled up and shot it, swished it. They missed one free throw, dribbled up, shot it, swished it, 3-point game. They missed another free throw. Jakob inbounds to DeJounte. DeJounte gets a clear shot, like, at Steph range. But he's, like, running the wrong way. And he didn't get enough on the ball, but that was fun. DeJounte, I mean, imagine if he sunk that, right? DeJounte is, like, a reliable star-level player now, and you love to see it. I didn't really talk about the steady guys. Jakob and DeJounte holding it down every game. There are rocks. They're steady. I mean, Jakob didn't rebound too well. I'm just seeing that. 6 rebounds, but 4 assists from Jakob. 2 steals. He had some swipey hands down there in the paint. But yeah, DJ'd. 12 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals. I think he had 29. Yeah, 29. 6 of those were in the last, minute. Or no, 6 of those were in the last 12 seconds. But those guys are steady. There needs to be a consistent third guy, and I thought Keldon was becoming that guy. In this game, he kind of regressed a little bit. Part of the growing pains of going for a rebuilding team. Wanted to react to this one. It was a very important game in terms of the playoff push, and the Spurs dropped it. Because I've been saying Sacramento's a team the Spurs need to put in the rearview mirror. They've been on skid. They have not been winning games. They're very much in position to be pushed back behind the Spurs. Spurs didn't let it happen. A little bit of a letdown coming home from the rodeo road trip. But this is part of the rebuild. Got to stay looking at the positives. I mean, we got some young guys some of them are going to pan out. Some of them really are. And you know what? It's a big step in the right direction for Trey and Primo this game, in my opinion. What did y'all think? What do y'all think of this young core? Is Keldon someone the Spurs can build around? I think so, but I don't think he is at the 4. He's not someone the Spurs should build around at the 4. He's a 3. And the Spurs have a lot of players in that position, so someone's probably not going to pan out with the Spurs. So who's it going to be? Today, Keldon was the odd man out, but some days Keldon's really good. So who is that guy? Who are the keepers? Just stuff we're going to have to figure out. But Lonnie took one step closer to being that guy. But we'll see if they bounce back on the road at the Hornets. Another winnable game, but very losable game too. Spurs could lose any game at this point. That's very evident. So just keep looking out for the development, and go Spurs go.